And we're live. Alright. I was actually playing RimWorld for once. I haven't played in ages. So yeah, just getting to know a little bit more what the new game feels like, what royalty feels like. I haven't actually gotten past, I think, the second or third title or something. So, I mean, it's like I'm getting very far. But I kind of lost track of time there, so starting a little bit later than normal. Only 10 minutes though, so it's not so bad. Couple of things I notice when playing. It's always when you play like you're a modder, so you want to. There's lots of things you notice, and then you want to change them. Which is also one of the reasons why I don't play very much, because usually I get distracted after half an hour or something with something that annoys me, and then I feel the need to change it. Couple of things I might be looking at tonight. I was dismissing complaints about traders and such walking through your fields, but I'm starting to realize that your fields are often in an open area just outside your base. And that is exactly, I think, the same criteria, or pretty much the same criteria, that traders want to go into. So either I should take that a little bit more seriously. So I personally am a fan of this pathfinding tool, Path Avoid, which is also what I have in the description for Desire Path, which is why this is a problem, because traders would walk through the fields and ruin the fields. And, yeah. So I've been kind of dismissing that as like, okay, you just need to make a better layout, but I'm starting to see like, okay, yeah, actually this is a bit more of a problem than it feels like. So maybe I should do something about I'm honestly feeling like tweaking the Pathfinder, or tweaking the cost of cells in growing zones. I am not sure that's a good idea though, because that is a function that gets called like a gazillion times. Like, what is the pathing cost of this cell? I don't think it's cached. And if it was cached, then I would need to redo that cache. Or like, how do you call that? Invalidate it, which is kind of always the pain problem with a cache. It's very easy to make a cache. You just store your data in a list or in a dictionary, and then you look it up again later. The problem is knowing when you need to recalculate that data, or like invalidating cached data so that you recompute it. And in the past, I've kind of gotten around that by just saying like, okay, you can store it for, I don't know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, whatever seems convenient in that case. So that's kind of the way that Mod Manager does it. Oh no, sorry, Colony Manager does it. Like these kind of counts and stuff, when you set it to count all on map, it doesn't count it every tick, because it needs that cell, that number every tick. It refreshes that every couple of seconds, and then it recalculates it. Could do something like that. Keep like a list of... You didn't see that. Oh, you actually didn't see that, because that's not getting captured on my screen. I should make my screen a little bit smaller. There you go. I'm not sure how much overhead a method like that would add. Anyway, that's something I want to think about a little bit more. I'm not sure I'm going to get into that tonight. What I do want to do quickly is I added a little while back to blueprints this little button, like create a blueprint, which is very neat. It's just like create a blueprint from a selection. The only annoying thing is that these, more often than not, do not need to be proper blueprints. So, like when you click it now, it creates an actual, proper, complete blueprint, which then shows up here, and you can see like I've already got like 6 in there. I haven't even bothered to name them. And like many of these are the same or kind of the same thing, and it's just extra graves in this case. So I mean, that is kind of pointless. So what we're gonna do first is add copy paste. Create a temporary blueprint that doesn't need to be saved and that you can then immediately paste again. And we're just gonna put that in Ctrl C, Ctrl V, because we also have I just created the key binding widget for command palette yesterday, day before, I don't even remember. So we can just reuse that again. It should be good. So yeah, let's get started on that. Oh, one other sort of public quick announcement. Some of you might be aware of this, but I think a lot of people aren't. So that I also have, or I was working on a hi there, Govian. I was working on an like a standalone mod manager, which is well, what you're looking at here, and it was kind of broken for a long time in 1.1, but I got annoyed with having to set up my mod list within the game, so I went back and fixed it sort of a little bit, so it's now working again. So you can get that from GitHub, and it should work. So this is kind of nifty, like it allows you to change your mod list outside of the game and then load the game. And you can also start it from, I don't think the saved game thing works, because that needs a little mini mod that I haven't updated. But you can immediately start with a certain mod list, so you can just activate it, and you can load mod list from saves here and stuff. So I can load the mod list from, I don't know, this old save game. I think this is a save game somebody sent to me, or I have no idea. It doesn't terribly matter. So yeah, just a quick way to make mod lists outside of the game. Thank you very much, Kofi. I appreciate that. So yeah, if you want to, please check it out. Give it a try. Give me some feedback on how it works, what doesn't work, what we'd like to see in it, and also be aware that this is by no means finished. So like, this is kind of my to-do list, and this is already very old, so I think it changed a little bit since then. This is the stuff that I still want to do before I give it an actual release, and this is the stuff I want to do like at some point, maybe in the future. And to be honest, when I was like fixing it for 1.1, I kind of felt like I want to rewrite the whole goddamn thing, because it's not exactly very clean code, and I've learned a bit since then, but I don't know, I probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, blueprints. Let's open up our trusty Visual Studio. I'm just gonna save and close that one. Then we can use Mod Manager to reset that mod list. And that actually deletes everything, which is a little bit overdoing it. We have to add things like core and harmony, hockey slip, and what else do we want? We want mod manager. Let's use the online version. No, I need to use this version. And we're gonna work on blueprints, so we should probably add in blueprints, the local version. And we'll create a new mod list for that. Call it bare bones, and put in that one. Right. So now if you play with mod lists, you can start the game and with that mod list, and then it loads into the game with only those mods selected, because it replaces the mod list first and then it loads the game. Oh, the hell? No, I didn't mean to put you in there. Yeah. Right. Okay. Sometimes it seems to lose references out of nowhere. I'm not sure why that happens. Like it's just lost the reference to RimWorld Inverse. And I can't refresh it or something. I actually have to delete it and add it back in. Super weird. Okay. I'm assuming this is the one. This is where we inject, yeah, this is the inspect gizmo grid, draw inspect gizmo grid for, and that's where we inject the little gizmo to create a, to create the blueprint. Just checking what this is actually doing. So what? Sorry. Where am I even using this one? Oh, this is just to target it. So this is just to check, okay, if the object list, so that's the list of gizmos, I assume, gets reset, then after that they start building the new one or something. Yeah, no duplicate list calls clear on it. Then we want to load the gizmo list. Which is also defined on this inspect gizmo grid. I should really put some more. Hey Ada. My kitten is just coming to say hi. She still doesn't like that. She's a bit camera shy, which is weird because she's so beautiful. Yep, you happy up there? All right. Right. So, this is the original code. This is a patch that's patching that, that's transpiling that. I can immediately see one problem, I think. That's that we're targeting this for occasions where, yeah, the previous instruction was load. Jesus Christ, kitten just jumped. Oh gosh. I think it gets used twice. It gets used here. Yeah. So what I'm adding, when this happens, I think it triggers here, and it won't even trigger there? No, that can't be right. I'm misunderstanding how this works. Because if that was the way it worked, then I wouldn't even get to see the blueprint, because then I would be adding it here, then the list would be getting cleared. So that's just not. We need to look at the actual IL code. And I guess I don't even need to make this. I was thinking I don't even need to. I could hide the actual create a real blueprint under a right-click menu, and make the actual button only for copy, and create a separate little listener for Ctrl C and V. I think that should work. I'm still curious about what I'm actually targeting here, though. So we're looking at inspect gizmo grid. And then draw inspect gizmo grid 4. And then we can switch this to intermediate language. And then we can start looking for the stuff that we are targeting, which I'm making these too big, I just realized. I still have to get used to my new screen. Right, that'll do. We are targeting loads field, object list, calls, clear info. That is this one. No. This is the gizmo list. Here. Get the load the field, object list, clear it. We add in our stuff in the gizmo list. And then immediately afterwards the gizmo list gets cleared again. And I get confused with the other one. The other one is at the end here somewhere. I was confused because it looks like it's only one line of code if you look at it on the I can have a look here, I guess. This very much looks like one line of code. It's like, okay, how am I targeting that? And like, shouldn't it be spread out over these things? This is actually two intermediate language instructions, because the first one is to put object list on the stack, and then the next one is to put to call the virtual method on that. So these are again the two things that we're looking for, and then it's doing the draw gizmo grid. So we're probably injecting our little extra logic twice now, which is not brilliant, to say the least. It's also just So what is happening here is that it's at the start. It's saying like, okay, we're going to do something with this object list, so we're going to clear it so that we can use it as like squash memory, and we're keeping it around so that we don't have to recreate the list, right? And then when we're done playing with it, we clear it again. So why is this getting cleared twice? This doesn't need to get cleared again. Like this, there's nothing else that puts shit in there. Except for this thing. There's no reason for that to get cleared 2 times. Kind of annoying. I really should put that on my stream somewhere. But yes, it's so fluffy. Hi there, Rikudo. I'm good, I'm good. I played a little bit of RimWorld today, so I have lots of little naggy thingies that I want to change about my own map, my own buttons again. Build script not working? I mean, you are making it hard on yourself by putting your entire build into the cloud, to be honest. Okay. How are you? Um, how are you doing the upload? Is that still with? Do you have some kind of special privileges if you're doing it from the Actions interface, or do you still use like the normal API stuff and like OctoKit and stuff? Or yeah, so there's like an action for uploading artifacts. I haven't looked at it too closely. Yeah. And what do they use? Do they have like a shortcut, or do they also internally use their own API? I kind of imagine that they use the API, no? Yeah. Oh, good luck with that. We're adding copy-paste functionality to blueprints at the moment, or at least that's the idea. And I think I've just decided to keep it a little bit more simple. And I'm not going to inject another what do you call these things? Gizmos, commands, whatever. I'm just going to reuse the same one that I'm already using, and but I do want to have a quick look at this IL because I'm injecting this little bit twice at the moment, and I don't want to do that. So how can we distinguish this little bit from this one? Well, probably because the next one isn't calling object list again. It's calling gizmo list actually. But let's look at the intermediate language. Object list, clear, and put on gizmo list. Mm-hmm. I'm not in the game anymore. I added a while back, I added to blueprints that you could select some stuff, and then you have a button in the widgets. You have a button in the widgets to create a blueprint from that, but the annoying bit about it is that it creates an actual blueprint that gets stored and saved in your save game and everything. And kind of 9 times out of 10, that's not what you actually want to do. What I find myself actually using it for is I have a bunch of graves, and what I would like to do is just quickly add another row of graves. Or 2, whatever. But what happened now is that it actually created the blueprint, which I haven't bothered to name. And in like the half hour I played earlier, I ended up with 6, 7, 8 blueprints or something already. So what I kind of want to do is just be able to say, okay, select some stuff. This will be, instead of create blueprint, will be copy. And then we'll have a right-click menu option to actually create a blueprint. And I can also just press Ctrl C and copy stuff. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, paste. That's the idea. Or even just Ctrl C, because that is just. But yeah, and then immediately you have it in your tool. Because I mean, there doesn't really need to be a Ctrl V, like a paste step in between. While I was looking at that, I was looking like, okay, how do I add the current gizmo that I have? And the problem with that is that I found a little bit of a like the condition for injecting it is a little bit too loose, so it's injecting the gizmo twice. It doesn't actually matter very much, because the first time I inject it, it gets immediately removed again, but it's just it's bugging me that I'm doing that, so I don't want to be doing that. So I'm going to check for like what is special about the one where I'm injecting it the first time, because the first time I'm injecting it here, like loads field object list and then calls clear on it, and then afterwards I'm injecting something and I'm putting something in the gizmo list, but like the next thing that happens in this thing is that the gizmo list gets cleared again, so it doesn't actually hurt anything. And transpiling a generator method, I don't think so. No. It's a draw method, it's a void. I didn't do the generator because the generator is defined on like the things and stuff, and I could have done that, but I wanted this to only show up when I have multiple things selected. So it's actually on inspect gizmo, or in inspect gizmo grid, so that's for the inspector. And there it triggers on whether or not you have multiple things selected. So if I only have one thing, I don't have that. It doesn't show up. Well, apparently only from 3 things onwards, it's actually, it shows up. Because I mean, 1, you still have the copy stuff. So. Anyway. That should do the trick. So we're looking for the these 3 instructions in a row, and that only happens. So this is the first time we're looking at. It loads object list again, which is not what we just used. It's gizmo list, so that shouldn't trigger it anymore now. And then what we want it to trigger is here. Loads fields gizmo list, and in front of that we're going to add a little bit more onto the gizmo list. That should work just fine. Hopefully, maybe. We'll find out soon enough. Let's just have a quick look and see if that broke anything before we move on. That's somebody's monument. I'm just going to claim that. Yeah, and we can still create a blueprint from it. So that clearly still works. Good. This blueprint getter is okay, that is really confusing me now. Oh. Really wasn't that hard. So that's just injecting a command create blueprint from selected. Going to change this. Create copy. Let's just call it blueprint copy from selected. I don't know. Just change the name a little bit so that it. Yeah, I think that is correct. And that one is not. Yeah, it's always incredibly surprising to me when I mess with transpilers and it works on the first go. But it happens more and more often, to be honest. They were so super scary when I began. Yeah, I'm not so scared of them anymore, which is kind of cool. Okay. We need to tweak this a little bit. There is an override for float inherit interactions from, no, just float menu interactions. Right click menu, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's not like I can change that, is it? You're considering making a library which models transpilers as state machines. Okay. So, what does that mean? It's like models them as state machines. So it creates them like a graphical view of them as a state machine. Or how should I be looking at this? Right. I have a vague understanding of what a state machine is because I did a little bit of like an introduction to natural language processing, where they explained it as one of the ways to like recognize string patterns and stuff like that. It hasn't stuck very much, to be honest. So you're gonna have to explain like I'm 5. New option. Do we have an internationalization class here? We do not. Fluffy blueprint creates blueprint from selection translate. And when that is clicked, we want to we'll call this one. And that is now currently being pressed from this. that's kind of it. Return options. So this is a right-click menu with only one thing in it. I kind of tend to think that is silly. I don't think we really have an option there. I mean, we could like disambiguate between left and right mouse button and do like a copy on left mouse button and create new blueprint on right mouse button directly, but that would really move away from what is standard in RimWorld, so we should probably not do that. So we've changed the default. We're going to change the default to be a create a temporary copy. I think that is also still a little bit of a problem, because this function, create blueprint, is what creates blueprints. But that always assumes that we want to store it. And I think new blueprint is what actually also brings up, yeah, a naming dialog. All right. So if we say bool temporary is false, so this defaults to false for everything that's already using this constructor. We can add can do the same thing here. And say here temporary, and here not temporary. Then add it to the controller, and adding it to the controller is what actually it initializes the controller when necessary. It adds the blueprint to our instance list, and creates the designator and selects it. I'll look at it in a second, Rikuda. Okay, so we need to pull this out. So we've created the blueprint, which is more or less the like the data container, which holds like how big is it, which items are in there, where are they placed, rotations, all that kind of jazz. The actual designator is like a light wrapper around that. We do need to create it and select it. And yeah, this is actually, I think, where are you assigned? That must be in a constructor. Blueprint controller. No. I just said I would look at it in a second, because I'm kind of trying to figure out what the logic was for creating blueprints, and wondering why I split it up over like 4 different classes and methods and made it very complicated for myself. If I remember correctly, this is a link to like a vanilla class. Yeah. Apparently I didn't even need to do that with, I used to do that through reflection, but apparently that wasn't even necessary anymore. So now I'm still just like creating a local link, which doesn't really matter. Hi there, Ornias. Welcome to the stream. So I might as well just have used like the desktop dev, which is the blueprints database. So what I'm doing is I'm adding it to the database and then I'm selecting it. What I kind of need to figure out is, do I need to add it in order to be able to select it? I kind of suspect not. No, it doesn't look like it. Which means that I can just create it, never add it, and then select it. And I'm going to do that in here. I don't like it, but I am going to. This is a different place. It should be in, I feel like it should be in the blueprint controller as well. But then, I mean, this is never... Yeah, that's conditional. So. I mean, this feels like it's duplication of code, because there's now two places where I'm creating a designator out of the blueprint. And it's kind of, yeah, I don't like it, but I don't think it's worth redoing it just for that. Theoretically, I have to go, yeah, you are fine. I need to change this one, because this is the old one. No, we don't need to change it very much. We just need to say true there. And that should have the basics done, really. So now when we left click it, we should get an immediate copy and immediately select it. And when we right click it, we should get the pop-up to create a blueprint out of it. Blah, 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 blah. Right, we have some conveniently placed ruins here again. Just select a bunch of them, claim them. The button is still there, that's a good sign. I thought it would automatically get the little icon there saying that there's multiple options here, but apparently that's not a thing. So I'll need to add that myself. Or maybe I'm overriding the draw function and I just need to override it less. We have, either way, it does work. So we have the right click for creating a blueprint with the selection and that way. And when we left click it, we still get that pop-up. Damn it. Did it, but it didn't save them. And I press OK, even then. I think I just forgot to put them in the constructor for the blueprint. That one. That's not where I wanted to go. That's where I wanted to go. Yeah, it still asks for the name even when we have, I'm just not using that. Not temporary. I'm good actually, Kane. Thanks for asking. Getting a little bit done with this coronavirus bullshit. Like, I'm kind of an introvert, my girlfriend is kind of an introvert, so we have a dog, so we're allowed to go out and everything. None of our family friends have had any problems, so we've been very, very lucky in that. And yeah, I mean, we're kind of introverts, we like staying at home and doing things at home, so it hasn't been too hard on us. But I am starting to really get done with it. Like my productivity, my work-wise productivity, like for the job I get paid for, is starting to really suffer. and I just, yeah, I'm kind of done with it. But yeah, it's not. It looks like it's going to be at least 1 more month until they're even thinking about lowering restrictions meaningfully in the Netherlands, where I am. And it's probably going to be. I suspect that the university where I work is going to stop. Is basically going to say until the summer, you're not allowed to come to work. Which for most of us, I mean, some of the labs have already opened again. It's like the high-tech labs where they actually need to be in a lab with the physical equipment to do stuff. We're also a social university, so lots of it is just on the computer, and we can also do it through the internet. So it's not really necessary that we're there, but it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit. But on the other hand, I did just get a contract extension. My contract was set to expire in 2 months. That's not true, actually, in a month, the 1st of June. But they just extended it to December, so I have 6 months extra to finish my PhD, which is great, because I'm going to need that. And I got a job offer for after that already, which was going to be a lot sooner, but they still wanted to keep me even if I finished half a year later, so even better. So yeah, that was a couple of bits of good news that I got today and yesterday. So yeah, nice, good. How are you guys doing with dealing with it? Like, I think most of you are probably from Europe, but I have no idea. Could go from anywhere. Like, do you have? Are you in the? I guess most people are under quarantine now. I hope you guys are all safe and secure, and your family and friends are okay and doing well. Oh wow. Okay. I think didn't you say before that you're from Washington, or was that somebody else? Ah, must have been somebody else then. I have a trouble keeping up with that kind of stuff. I've always been terrible at names and everything, so maybe I should keep like a cheat list. Write down all the names of at least subscribers and all the stuff I know about them, so I can always amaze you with my personal knowledge. Yeah. Alright. I want to add the Ctrl C key binding. I'm not sure where I can do that. So if we look at this, this is the command. Yeah. This is the command, which will probably have a an on GUI which I can override. Yeah. For fuck's sake. People think it's okay to put fireworks off, like right outside. Sorry, I get triggered by that because our dog is terrified of it, so he'll probably be in here in a little bit. So we have an on GUI here in which we could potentially intercept the tooltip. That may or may not work, because the problem is, I already noticed, C is also bound to cancel. So in this case, it would work. That would be fine, because cancel doesn't exist here. But when we select something that also has cancel on it, then it wouldn't work. And the additional problem is that this is like in a left to right order. So we need to find something that is earlier in the phase, or in the user interface loop, so that I could intercept Ctrl C when it is fired. And yeah, not fire that. But I'm not sure where the gizmo grid does that kind of thing. All right, let's go back to C#. So that's actually real readable. Yeah, I know, but it's just the nice touches that make everything flow and work really nicely. Like the number of times I've been annoyed that somebody hasn't taken the little bit of extra time to put like some keyboard shortcuts in there or something. There's a couple of mods that have like an option list with giant lists of options that you can turn on or off. And it's like, yeah, now I have to manually select every option and then press the button to turn it to the right or the left. And it's like, if you were going to do that, then at least just give me checkboxes so it's only one click. Or give me key binding so that I can do it like with enter, enter, and it just goes to the next one or something. But yeah. And you'd probably elect to bind it to mouse 5 or something like that. Yeah, but that's fine. That you can do that. I mean, that's up to you. I would bind it to Ctrl C myself, which means that I need to get ahead of things. So I'm pretty sure it happens in draw gizmo grid, but let's keep it separate. We've got inspect gizmo grid, we've got drawers. It does draw the actual. No, I guess it does that in here as well. And this is just draw inspect gizmo grid 4. Okay, let's have a look at the drawer. Alright, does some grouping logic. Yeah, more stuff to do with the grouping logic. Drawn hotkeys, clear. Guess this is where it actually draws them. Yep. And then it just calls gizmo and GUI. And this is a float menu. And this is where it clears everything again. So that means that in whichever version we're overriding here, it's be command, right? Because the other one was abstract. Yeah. Mm-hmm. With a constant frame hitching, FPS stuttering after adding or removing mods, and 10% of my breaks being catatonics. Do you play with dev mode on, Onios? Do you turn it on occasionally? Because stutters are usually errors, and when you you add and remove mods are usually when you start getting errors. So that sounds like it could be just errors that are getting hidden. And yeah, the number of dev mode, do you turn it on sometimes so that you can see your error log? Or that it pops up with red? Yeah, I mean, at some point it's kind of, yeah, If you play on a decent sized map, you have lots of modes, and especially when you start getting a little bit more colonists, then there's not. Yeah, okay. Because one of the reasons. Yeah, okay, you're just gonna get some lag. That's not. But when you only get it when you add or remove mods, that's kind of all. But one of the reasons some people get lag that is really really bad, that can be because there is a mod that is erroring and it's like spamming out errors every tick. It's a little bit better now that the game cuts it off after I think 1,000 lines of log or something. But some mods actually ignore that and keep spamming. Me included. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and that too. Like any logging, it's just it's writing to disk, and it's writing to disk in lots of small increments because every single time that something gets logged, like every line in the what do you call it, the debug log, is writing to disk. So then it just queues them up and has to wait every time for the write to be done. And some so that's also when you log a log, you want to accumulate it and then write it in one batch instead of. Yeah, yeah. I mean they take longer to log than actually the thing they're measuring sometimes. But yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I know the feeling. That's why I'm trying to be a little bit discriminative in what mods I add. But it just, yeah, at some point you get like the FPS death, which is fine. I mean, I used to play Dwarf Fortress, I'm used to that. Alright, so in Gizmo and GUI, we're drawing icons, blah 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 blah. We're looking at if the keycode exists. If key is not keycode and not star hotkeys contains. Alright, so only. Yeah, only. Oh wow. Yeah, only if no other gizmo earlier in the line has already used this hotkey, then we draw the widget and we intercept it and do whatever event we have. You set a flag, and that flag is going to get returned at some point and say like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you turn verbose logging off, right? Okay. We need to go back to the source, so we can't fix it in here. So we might as well not do this. We need to fix it in something that called before the gizmo grid rendering happens. So I'm just going to quickly check when like world, whatchamacallit, map components and world components and that stuff runs. Which means I need to go back to DSPy. Go back to my inspect gizmo grid and go up the analyze chain. Yeah, that one also calls it, but I don't particularly care about that one. This is the one I care about. That gets called apparently never. Oh, what did I just do? Interesting. This is on a main tab window. This draw, inspect, gizmos. Is that a... Wait, what? Okay, that's weird. Maybe it's a different mod that adds a different type of catatonic break or something, and has the probabilities turned done wrong. Okay, I'm very confused why I can't get up the chain from here. Apparently there's nothing that calls main tab window inspect draw inspect gizmos, which is what is triggering this stuff. This is not an override, so there cannot be anything that draws like the base class. Just confused. Right. And there's always one last thing we can try and check, and that's just to see if somebody has this as a constant. Maybe it's done through reflection, but no, didn't think so. FCCP mental break tweaks and mental breaks, which both prevent the normal catatonic breaks mods from working, but removing them adds FPS pipes. Frame matching. You can always go into the defs and also the defs for those mods and set the probabilities to 0. That's not too hard to do. You want to make local copies first though, so that they don't get overridden by any Steam updated versions. Yeah, or just use dev mode to remove it. I've never used that mod, so I can't help you terribly with it. But I mean, if you know where to look, yeah. Or that. We could go from the other side and start from UI root. I think it's called that. I always forget. Apparently that one. This is UI root play. And then see where we think it happens here. Yeah, map interface on GUI before main tabs. That sounds like it's a good idea. This is where the main buttons happen. This is after main tabs. Is the main buttons the one that... Alright, so it's doing the worker, do button. Alright, so on... but that's not a main tab window. Inspect this doesn't have a worker. It's not a button. So that's going to be on the inspector thingy. Whatever it's called. Where did I put it? 4 main tabs. We got thing overlays, columnists, drag block, designation manager, targeter, some debug shit, level controls, and resource readout. Yeah, but map components happened before that. Brilliant. Creating an entire map component just for that one little thing. That seems like it's overkill. And it probably is. But hey, fuck it. We're gonna need this little tidbit. Map components. Copy. And you're going to inherit map components. You need to have some classes. Well, don't really care about that one. And you're going to override on GUI. Okay. Do we have settings for this one yet? I do not think that we do. Oh wow, this is a world component. It's not even a mod. Do I actually scribe anything in here? I do. Alright. Well, this is not ideal. I should probably remove the blueprint database from this and put it in its own class, because it really shouldn't be in here. But we'll just add a little mod class now, because we're going to need settings. So we'll just call this mod. Inherits verse mod. Yeah, fine. Public static setting. No, settings. And that getter and a private set. We're going to get you that stuff in here. Get settings. And yes, I know this class does not yet exist. Public settings, mod settings. Brilliant. I've tried moving the mod that removes the break lower than the other two. Yeah, that should theoretically fix it if they're doing it with patches or XML. If they're using code, then that's not going to work. I suspect at least Dubs might be using code. I don't know how Dubs does that kind of thing though, but he's doing a lot with C#, as am I. And when you do a lot with C#, that usually means that you hate guts of XML, because C# is just so much nicer. So it's much easier to patch stuff in C# and be much more targeted and like know what you're doing and don't get errors, and load order doesn't matter because you can always make sure that you run last. And yeah, anyway, not getting into that. We're going to need a public bool. Am I saying bool? No. Key bind. I need to add my little key binding class to this. Yes, this is getting overkill. Add existing projects. Fluffy mods. Tools. Better key binding. Add the key binding project. This is all still, yeah, that's fine. Then we can say this is going to be a key bind. Yeah, just like that. Yes. Copy key. And oh yeah, we need to add in a little layer of obscurity because otherwise you get screwed over by default values not existing, which is kind of annoying. So this is going to be the backing field that just starts at null. Then we're going to have a property that sets a default if necessary. And that is new keybind. We need to give this a name. Do we need to give this a yeah, we do need to give this a name because it's going to be shown in the settings view. Blueprint, copy key. Translate. The key code is going to be C. And modifiers is going to be event modifiers control. If you haven't seen this before, this is the new in C#8. It's a null coalescing assignment or coalescing assignment, or I don't know what they call it again. But it's basically saying if copy key is null, then give it this value, and otherwise leave it alone. Yeah, set if not null. They have a fancier name for it, but I think. Do they really call it set if null? Whatever. That would be much too clear and rational a name, so I don't think that would actually be the name of the official name of it, but maybe. For some reason, RimWorld has thought it's a good idea to put the settings window draw class in the mod and not in the settings class, which I still don't understand, but so I always just forward it to settings. It's going to be inlet. And we're going to rename you Canvas because I like that name better. Yeah, that's all that needs to do. So we might as well use this as some magic syntax there. And public void do window contents canvas rect canvas. And this is always the simplest possible mod settings thing that I can think of, which is we create a listing. Options is new listing standard. I have to begin that with the canvas so that it knows how wide it can be and how high it can be. And then we get a rect. Normally you would use like these options, a button image, button text, and there's a couple of input fields and checkboxes and radio buttons and whatever. They don't look brilliant, but they do well enough. Save me. Can you or can you not conditionally apply an XML patch based on a mod setting? No, you cannot. You are cursed to use Harmony, I guess. Yeah. You could try to manually read that other mod's mod settings, which might theoretically work. It's just an XML file, but that's probably going to be harder than using Harmony. Patches happen very early in the load phase, before mods and any content is actually loaded or any things are. Yeah, but still, your own mod isn't loaded back then. Like the first thing that happens is RimWorld takes all of the other XML, like the dev XML, puts it in one giant text file. It's not even considered like proper XML at this point. It's just a text file, and applies like the patches on that. And then it tries to render it and do stuff with it and load everything. You may have access to mod classes though. Alright, well, first of all, to achieve the same effect, you wouldn't necessarily need Harmony. You just go to the dev database, that's where all of the devs live, and you can just do whatever you want with them, basically. The only problem you will run into... Yes. Theoretically, yes. So you can just change things on devs. Sometimes they, some other stuff, when other stuff is generated based on devs, or when devs have cached, I don't know, data on them, then you might run into some trouble. So you either need to reset the cache, or you need to make sure that you do this before any implied devs are generated. So for example, when you create, when you add a new stone type, the game generates a couple of implied devs based on that. So it creates blocks, it creates a couple of floor types for like the smoothed and rough terrain underneath stone. Creates a smoothed wall stuff, it creates the block, like the boulder stuff. That is all implied, and the same happens in a lot of other situations. So yeah, what do you want to do? What do you want to patch? Okay. So you just want to change some of the values on the fire dev. That should be fine. Yeah. I don't think that's going to be a problem. So you basically, you go to your dev database. This is a damage type dev, I think. Does that not exist? Is it just damage dev now? Well, you get all devs, or you can get named if you know the name. So this would be fire, probably. You want to be able to selectively change them from the mod settings. Discrete modes or sliders with buttons. Yeah, I mean, I'm so used to other people complaining about Combat Extended that I always have to remember that you're actually doing Combat Extended. So I always... Anyway, yeah, I mean, if it's your own class, then you can get the dev. Then there's probably something to get the dev extension, or yeah, get mod extension. It's your own class, So combat extension, fire class, or whatever it's called, and then you can change the values in there. If you want to do that based on your mod options, yeah, I mean, just get a reference to the extension and make your options use that. So if you have, let's say we have var def is, well, what def do we want to check? Let's get the of gold. Right, so this is a hard coded. It's like a def of thing. That is internally really what that does is this same stuff, but it's just in a static class. You have a reference to it. Are harmony patches applied before or after settings are read? That depends. Settings are only read when you call them. And harmony patches are only applied when you apply them. Unless you use Hugslip, then they're applied when Hugslip applies them, which is... Hey there, Mickey. Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Yeah, you call patch hole, that's the moment when they get applied. So generally speaking, they get applied when your mod is loaded, and then at some point it gets instantiated, and that's when you call patch hole. And what I just did in my little mod class, that is actually here, is the first thing I did when I instantiate this mod is I actually get the settings, and this is the point where the settings get read. So yeah. Still in quarantine, Mickey? Yep. Yeah, we actually still... My girlfriend and I still manage not to get enough time to clean up the house and everything, which is kind of amazing, but I guess we just really don't want to do it. Right, we've added the settings, we've added the draw function, we've got the copy key draw in there. I need to give it an exposed data to actually save that. On the copy key, and does it need? No, I don't think it does. It doesn't need. It has a, yeah, it has an empty thing for scribe just for that purpose. Yep. Okay, that should handle the hotkey. I've got the little mod class. Why are you complaining? Yeah, you never used. You are, you just don't know about it. Let's move that out. And did I already create the map component? Yes, I did. Right, we have the map component on GUI. Is there anything in here? No, didn't think so. We want to get our mod settings, copy key just pressed. If this key is pressed, and do we still have this in there? No, I didn't think so. You guys are done. I had in, was it in Blueprint? No, probably not. That one. I had this little thing. Again, I'm copy pasting it, which means that I should pull it out and put it somewhere else. I do not have a utilities class yet, so bugger. Let's do it. Extracted class is going to be utilities. Reference to extracted. No, this is going to be a static class. I don't think this is going to help me very much. Do it like that. Public static utilities. You know what? This is bullshit. I'm now just. This is just premature. This is just stupid. And I need it to be there anyway, because this is an override. Yeah, I've got a couple of new mods out, Mickey. I was getting a little bit annoyed with Mod Manager, to be honest. I had been staring at Mod Manager for like 2 weeks already, and just not getting any much further, and it is, yeah. Just like too big a problem, too much things going on, and I didn't really have the focus or energy for it. So I decided to do some smaller new projects. So I got 3 mods out in like a week or something. I was going for like the top 3 spots on Steam. I don't think I actually managed it. I got 2 at one point that I saw, but oh, I also have a lot of comments. I need to look at that. But yeah, I got Desire Pass out there, and somebody took my #1 pot. Command Palette. Command Palette I'm really happy with. I really like how it worked out. Desire Path needs some tweaks still. And I got where it started. Oh, that's gone down massively already. That's not even in the top 20 anymore. Somewhere in here is Shit Rimworld says. It's not been taken down or something, right? No. It still exists. Which takes quotes from the Shit Rimworld says Reddit and then puts them as load screen messages. I'm really proud of that one as well. That was fun. Is there an easy way to make the building menu icons smaller so they don't take up 1/3 of the lower screen? Easy? No. Is there a way? Yeah. I mean, I'm doing it in Command Palette. But yeah. I have no direct plans of doing that for the normal architect though. Hi there, Adolf. No, I'm not bored. I'm modding. I'm never bored when I'm modding. Yeah. Bool valid. And that does this. And this is valid. Then event current use. I'm going to do this. Sorry. Map component copy valid. Yep. And then we're going to do some more copying, but this one I don't care so much about. And that is this one. And it's going to do create blueprint, and create blueprint is defined what, on this one? Yeah, that's another thing. Why is it defined there? That doesn't make any sense. Like, where are the other ones defined? We've got designated create blueprint, which at least it makes sense a little bit that it's on there. Yeah, I guess it makes sense for the other one as well. Right. I'm going to pull both of those in here. Anytime at some point you can add the ability to equipment animals or wearing to the animal tab mod. That's so that's only useful when there's another mod. On the other hand, it wouldn't be all that much work. So yeah, maybe as a little project. Because that only, like, there's the animal gear mod, right? Which is the only way you can actually have animals wear stuff, I think. Or has that changed? Yeah, I mean, Rikudo, it's basically just a matter of changing the GUI scale. It's really quite simple. The only tricky bit about it is that you have to keep track. Yeah. You have to keep track of where you are on the scale and what your relative position is, and with different UI skills sometimes. Like you have to make sure that it's translated through new proportions and stuff. Yeah, and coordinates, and then you get into situations where you need to work with Unity coordinates and like game coordinates. And Unity thinks that the origin of things should be in the bottom left, and the game thinks that origins of things should be in the top left. So your 0, 0 coordinate is different in both situations. So then you have to work with inverted stuff as well. Fun, so much fun. And yes, Erdolf, I over-engineer my translation strings. In my mind, it's still possible for them to collide with other modders with translation strings, so that's why I create them like this. I don't think that's actually possible though, or something. At least I've never ever seen it happen yet. But yeah. Oh, all right. I thought you were being sarcastic, but no. Yeah, I try to like always use this pattern now. It's one of mods in the furniture where many was getting rather large, and running a magic mod makes it hard for the bones. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Have you seen my command palette mod, Mickey? Because that is also one way. It's like all right, okay. So you can put a key binding. Did it not activate? No, it didn't activate for some reason. All right, that's annoying. I did something wrong. But yeah, you can get a key binding. Why did you not activate? Oh, I put you in this mod list, but I started a different mod list. There we go. Yeah. So you had some really weird backstories with like gender and age combinations and stuff. Anyway, you can press shift right click. Normally I bound it to shift right click now because I also want to use other things that are bound to right click. And then you can just type in stuff and then it filters down to things that match that or closely match that. So you can, like, if you have lots of furniture, you can just go for bed. Oh yeah, that's not it, but royal bed is in there. Anyway, yeah, you can see how that works. And no, I fixed that. I fixed that. It doesn't have like cancel 20 times in it anymore. I had to implement like my own, because the game actually does have 20 different cancel designators. Like all of these cancel designators are different. This is not the same one as that one, nor that, no, that one doesn't have one, but that one, and like all of them. It's so I ended up with having all of them in my menu as well, like the cancel and deconstruct 20 times. And I couldn't just filter them out based on distinctness, so I had to make like my own equality comparer, which I'd never done before, and was actually a lot simpler than it looked. But yeah, that's again the thing where if you just look at the link signatures, then it makes everything look like it's terribly complicated. And then if you actually look at, okay, what does it mean and how does it work, it's really quite simple. But yeah. I am talking so much that I've completely forgotten what I was doing. We set up a keybind. We did all of this stuff. We created a map component to do stuff with it. Oh yeah, I was complaining about the fact that the creation of blueprints is defined in these designators themselves. Yeah, I think I'm just going to make these two static functions on the blueprint class. Where should we put that? I don't know. Yeah, right below the normal constructor. Blueprint create. Why are you complaining? Return statement is missing. Yeah, that is true. Because you don't actually return. Which is really counterintuitive. Yeah. Sorry to make you do the part first. I'm happy with that one too, and a lot of other people enjoy it. But yeah, it's different from the stuff I usually do. There's more problems with it. Yes, I'm making a map component to add copy and paste in blueprints. I already added, or I changed the behavior of the what the normal button does. Blah 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 blah. So normally by default it would do this and give you a pop-up and say like, okay, what do you want to call this blueprint? And then you get the blueprint and it actually creates a blueprint from that. But 9 times out of 10, when you just want to quickly copy things, that is not what you want to do. You just want to... Did I not? I didn't recompile yet after that. So you shouldn't be seeing this pop-up for the name anymore. You should just get the blueprint, get it selected, and you can place it. And it doesn't actually add it to the blueprints list. And I also wanted to be able to intercept Ctrl C to create it. And the problem with that is not so much... Yeah, bugger off. On normal stuff it doesn't matter. the problem is when you have uncompleted things, so frames or blueprints, like RimWorld's blueprints, not my blueprints, then the cancel key would intercept the C. So I cannot do it on the designators on GUI, because that only runs after cancel. So I have to do it in something that runs before cancel, or before the widget grid altogether. And I think and hope and evidence suggests that map components run there on GUI before the widget grid does. That is my running assumption now. So yes, I am creating a map component solely to intercept a copy key and do stuff with it. Woo! Awesome. Remind me that I still have to look at the state machine thing you were talking about. Map component is working. Well, let's see if we can compile this bad boy. Yes. I also kind of want to put this one in Blueprint, because it really doesn't make sense anymore that you exist outside of the Blueprint then, and I need to give it map and cells. No. It's going to be enumerable intvac cells map. You are now map, as are you. And why are you not working? Select many. Are you not an enumerable? Oh, you're an intvac 3 even. Really? Oh well. Well, that seems to have worked. Yeah, I'll look in a second. You have anything more to say about this? Enumerator array. Why would I want to do that? Nah. Alright. There's probably a lot of copy paste in between here as well. I could create a list of buildables and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna leave that for now. Don't really want to get into it. We need to create blueprint, create cells, and the map we are on. Beautiful. That massively simplifies this whole thing as well. Nice. I think that should do the trick. Let's put some stuff down. Some stuff that we can select easily. A lot of beds. It is beautiful! Another real test. When I select the blueprints, do they cancel it? Or do I create a blueprint? I create a blueprint. Alright, that makes me very happy. That actually works. I need to put a little bit of a display on here of what the hotkey for that is. So we had the code before when we were looking at Gizmo Grid Drawer, Gizmo GUI. It's command on GUI. Derived types, commands, and that has a Gizmo GUI. All right, this one. This is the one that we were looking at. That draws in rect2, so that's just a 5F offset from. Do we ever change the rect we get? Top left exit. Yeah, okay, but that's just the top left. So that's just 5 offset from the edge, and we do key code to string readable. All right, well, that's simple enough. Then in our create from selected, we'll override on GUI again. Yeah, you can run your base, but after that, we will draw our own hotkey. Is the map comp you mentioned only for this copy and paste? Yes. That is its sole purpose in life. It does nothing other than that. So we need to draw the little label. Please tell me it does more than storing the blueprint. It doesn't even store the blueprint. It literally just listens for Ctrl C. That's all it does, or whatever hotkey you give it. Yes, seriously. What is your right? So left x plus. Yeah, we have to do that. Y plus 5. Oh, max width? Do we have a width here? Sure, let's just. Right. Let's have another quick look at how it's done here. That's the command class again. Is it this one? No, it's this one. I just set a specific height. And it takes that from the overall height is just set to 75. That's just hard coded. Alright, fair enough. What is it? 18F, right? 18. We're working with it. Yes, I know, seriously. Do you have a better idea, or do you like why is this so terrible? What are you thinking about this? I mean, I know it's kind of overkill. I just couldn't think of a better way to intercept the key bindings. And I mean, theoretically, what I should be doing is making a better key interception mechanism in the key binding library that I created, and then like dispatching events from that or something, maybe. But that's not going to work very well with the imgui GUI scripts. So I don't know. This seems viable. It works. Good enough for me. and it's not like it's all that heavy to tick a map component, especially not a map component like that. Right. I may want to actually store the blueprint, at least as like a sort of what do you call it? When you normally copy something, it ends up on your clipboard. That's the word I was looking for. So that you can take it, you can get it back. Like you can quickly select something else in between and then get your blueprint back. So then I might actually want to implement like Ctrl V again to take it off your clipboard or something. But yeah, not terribly important. We got our label rect. We're going to just print a label in there. Label rect, and this is mod settings, copy key, and that already has a label function defined. Why is this all unreachable? Because I'm returning this. Oh, and this is the one. Yeah, because you can use different things. And we started off with the modifier label. Yeah, so that should do just fine. And I cannot forget the translations because I always forget the translations. All right. Ooh, yeah. All right, that's not pretty. First of all, I need to use a smaller font, I think. Yeah, definitely. And I may need to do, yeah, like a label short or something. Because that's not pretty. And also it's just not readable on this icon, so maybe that's like the real big problem here is the icon, I think. Oh yeah, and I haven't given it a settings category yet. Right, so what did I add? I added create blueprint also needs to be changed. That needs to be copy. Just copy. So this is a command. Default label is copy. And this we can actually use there. This we need to change. All right. it's only a research tree. I need to take a quick bio break. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. And we're back. I still haven't figured out the magic to getting Visual Studio to open text files, so I plan to do that with Visual Studio Code, which works fine. It's nicer to work with anyway. Oh wow, we have more here than I thought we did. Print, copy. And we had create from, oh. Oh. A temporary blueprint from the selected objects, because it doesn't have to be buildings, just 2 lines down. Right, yeah, I don't actually know what the other hotkey is. No, I do know. Right click to and create a permanent blueprint, and that should be obvious. Stupid. Don't ever assume that anything is obvious when you put it on the internet. Right, that's the copy label. That's create from selection help. Create from selection itself is obsolete, and yeah, create from selection help itself is now called copy help, I think. Yeah, copy help. Yes. Okay. No, create from selection is not obsolete, because that is still a right-click float menu. Copy commands. Let's put that one also in there. If I was able to get compiling to work from VS Code, I'd have likely used it exclusively. You can. You just need to run some custom scripting. Because you basically just need to run. You need to run MS build, which isn't terribly hard, because I'm doing it. Like I have my update and release script is actually, when I run it in the right environment. Wow, why is it complaining so hard? It should just. Oh, it is resolving the path, which is not possible, really. But alright, whatever. Blueprints. This actually includes a build step. That one. So it's definitely possible. The code for that is all on GitHub, by the way. It's in my my post build script. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, this does work reliably, to be fair, for me at least. But I don't collaborate much with other people, so. We got copy help. We need copy key. Do we? What directly use a step which installs this and put it in the path. Yeah, I have I actually have a config file which points to that, and yeah, that is a good point. I have actually had problems with that in the past when I used, like, when I modded on my laptop sometimes, and then you needed to tweak that and change it. But yeah. So in my relay script, I'm not going to open it now because I'm not sure what kind of information is in there. But I've got these configs, and you can see that I have a different config for my laptop because some of the paths changed. But there's also Git tokens and stuff in there, so I'm not going to open it right now. I think this is all of the keys. Then I need to update it to make sure they get copied over. Alright, I have some ruins somewhere. We have no ruins, I was going to say, but that's a ruin. I can claim it. No, I forgot one. No, I didn't forget that one. I must have mistyped it. Fluffy blueprints, copy help. Fluffy blueprints, copy help. What is wrong with you? Did you have any errors? Yeah, for English has one error. Generate translation report for more info. That is new. It used to just give red errors on the menu. Save translation report. Desktop translation report. Are you kidding me? Okay. Yeah, blueprints. Fluffy blueprints copy help start talk does not match the end. Oh. I'm an idiot. Just that this is too long a string that I didn't actually notice it. Oops. Yeah, I changed the first tag. I didn't close the closing tag. I didn't change the closing tag, which gives XML a hazy fit. Yet another reason why JSON is a superior data type. Oops, sorry, still had that selected. Apparently. Alright, that seems to have worked. I'm not terribly happy always with the way this gets like truncated, but it'll do. I still need to fix this so that it uses a smaller font and possibly the short form keycode label. But at least all of this stuff is working. So that creates one. We press Ctrl C to create one, or to copy paste shit without having to actually do it, and the same happens when I just press that button. So yeah, I'm happy about that. And just pressing C still deletes it, which is yeah, expected but nice. Dope. And I can change it here to whatever the hell I want. So if I want to set it to Shift Control Alt right mouse button, I can bloody well do that. Not really sure what that's going to do to the yeah, it's still getting truncated. It's not getting truncated actually. It just goes all the way behind there. Interesting. Alright, well, you just don't do that. Let's see. So we need to add fluffy blueprints to our translations. That's it. Wait, why MS Build for compiling in Visual Studio Code? Because you're still compiling framework projects and not core projects? Does it? I mean, I haven't tried it in ages, so I'm using MS Build. I do have .NET installed, so maybe that'll work. Yeah, I do have to be in source. I kind of don't want to know what happens, like how this is going to fuck up my working directory. Is it in blueprints? It's in blueprints. Yeah. Okay. It's interesting though, this says it's for .NET Core. And .NET Build also takes care of installing missing NuGet packages? That's interesting. I know they mucked about with it a little bit. Because they had a different data format for .NET Core solution files for a little bit. And then they went back to the old XML standard one, I think. At least that's what I picked up on. It could entirely be missing things, and more things have changed since now. So maybe it changed, like with that change again, it oh. Yeah, that seems to work. I mean, it's still, after that, it's calling my build script again, and then it's doing the, this step is still using MS build, so it should work either way. But that's interesting. So they're both using Roslyn under the hood though, right? I mean, they're using the same actual compiler. It's just a different, what you might call it, build chain client, something. Yeah. So then the only real difference is that .NET build is easier. Anyway, that's fixed that. This is... It's like the loading screen gives you the entire mod description in a tooltip. They're massive for some mods, including mine. That's just not, yeah, not good information to put in there. Anyway, mod settings now correctly has blueprints. I was still going to tweak the actual that one. So change the font as text. Font equals tiny, and then we'll reset it just to be sure. Equals small is normal. Word wrap is true, and we'll turn that off off again as well. Just to at least try and get it to wrap around and not overflow on the right. I'm not sure what this max width is getting. But yeah. So it's... No, okay, yeah, no, I'm interested, but I'm going to finish this first, because otherwise... We've made it tiny, we used word wrap. Let's see if we can... string short, label short. It means I need to implement a bunch of these other things as well. I mean, that's not really all that hard. This is basically a copy paste. You are going to be modifier label short, key label short, button label is already short, scroll label short. Modifier label short, and that is alright, that's slightly more annoying than I thought. Oh, that's because these guys are not using key codes. Because for the keys, if I can find it, key label here, it's using toString readable, and toString readable is literally just giving you the shorter functions of the actual key code. So what I'm doing is completely counterintuitive and not necessary, and this is actually already the short version. Alright. Well, let's just leave those then and just stick to the events. That doesn't work because it's a flag-based thing. No, don't be sorry. It's my own fault that I have the attention span of like a teenage squirrel. No, I can do this. A short event modifier, modifier. And we're just going to do a switch on that, if that is at all still possible. I really think it should be. Generate me some options. Alrighty then. None. Empty. Is there a shorter... Shift is just shift, right? Is this alphabetical? No, it is not. Left shift. It's L shift and right shift. To be fair, the only one I really care about is control, because control should just be CTRL. I mean, all the others are already kind of short enough. Shift is normally not abbreviated. Alt is already super short. These ones are not actually modifiers at all. Neither is command. I mean, I can leave it in there just for the sake of it, but it's not actually used in Unity. I think it routes it to control or something. Don't know. And then, honestly, I should make these translatable, because Germans have, instead of control, they have like Steuerung. I think it translates to STRG. And I'm sure other languages also have their own quirks when it comes to that. I don't wanna. Why am I making this so stupid hard on myself? No, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. That's stupid. For the simple expedient that I can't add translations to this, because this is not a mod. This is a library. This is a drop-in library. I don't want to put translations in that. That's just stupid. So either it has to be like this, or it's not translated. You know what? I'm just gonna pretend this whole problem doesn't exist. It's a niche thing anyway. And does Rimworld not have translation for keys? Nope. It doesn't. It uses the string readable on key codes, which is, I think it's hard coded. Unless this is used as the input for translation keys, but I don't think it is. So we can look at it though. Wait, what? Why are there two? What the hell? I don't even know what kind of fuckery this is. Is that even possible? Can you have a default statement before you have other statements? Wouldn't this always... Isn't this the end? Isn't this the catch-all you put at the bottom? Can you have that above further cases? That is utterly new to me. Okay. I mean, that still doesn't make any fucking sense to me, but... So let's look at draw key entry, get bound key code, put budget, button text, get bound key code. No, that just translates the keys. It doesn't translate the key. It's getting... Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, if Rimworld doesn't care, then we shouldn't care, right? That is... No. Like, the whole point of my mod is that I do care sometimes. So, let's leave all the other modifier labels what they are. Do a tiny little stupid check in here saying if E equals control, because really that is the only one that we care about, because like I said before, most of the other ones don't actually exist. Then we return control. Otherwise, we return E to string. Yeah, I mean, the whole point of mods is that the modder cares about something that the normal game didn't care about. So that was a really silly argument. And I will never be using it again. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's clearly not what I meant. Yeah, so that should work, and that just shortens control to not use the entire control thing. I mean, this is kind of butt ugly and silly, and whatever. Those kinds of whatever, I'll look at it later, is what makes me hate my former self sometimes. Because then I have to read and understand the code in 2-3 months when I haven't looked at it. I have no idea what I was thinking. Are you telling me it was still on? Right. Well, that's just going to be a single error, right? So I need to fix word wrap because apparently I need a different icon, I think. That, or I just need to put a... I'll put a little shadow behind it. Hey. Other overkill. Apparently, I was already on 12. That seems just weird, but okay, maybe, sure. Let's leave it there then. We got that, we got this. I want to then our width size equals text size calc size. There we go. And our text is I have a question actually. You guys know much more about C# than I do. When I have this kind of thing where I need this label twice, is it better to put it in a local variable? Or should I just put in like mod settings copy key label twice, or does it not matter at all because the compiler will take care of it for me? Yeah, that yeah, that's a comment that I could make in a lot of my code. Liquido. Anyway, so I'm now tempted to replace both of these with label and create a local variable for that. Because that seems to me like it's better, because then I only have to call that getter once. But I'm copy key is both of these are properties actually. Both copy key and label are properties of settings. Copy key because it has a backing field that might be null and needs to be initialized. And label is just a property. Right, so yeah, because it's true. You shouldn't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But then my instinct about it is correct. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it can have side effects. It shouldn't have really, but have you talked with Rikuda? Have you talked with Oscar? What's his name? Poloki? I always forget his name. But the guy from all of the vanilla expanded mods, because I think they're also working on a combat overhaul that is supposed to be combat extended light-ish. So not quite as hardcore, but maybe a little bit saner. Might be worth seeing if you can do like a collaboration with them, at least, or I don't know. You can work it out. But I mean, I always hated in my university that every department wants to do stuff for themselves, and like we all do things double and triple. And even when I tell them like that department is doing something very similar. Sorry, that was the microphone. It's just like, oh, that's interesting, and then nothing ever happens, and we still end up doing like parallel projects that do exactly the same. Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing but good experiences with him so far, but he seems to be a little bit divisive in the community. Not entirely sure why, to be honest. I'll just draw a little box around this. And that's just going to be like a see-through black. Are they not open source? You know, honestly, I didn't even realize that. That is... Yeah. I mean, he works together with a lot of other mods, and he is, like, being an artist is his day job, I think. Right. So, I mean, he's a little bit more focused on actually making money out of that stuff as well, which is, yeah. I talked with him about it in the past. That's just not, like, how I do this. But I mean, I can understand it from his perspective that I mean this is actually his job, and he's doing some of that for Wimworld. And yeah, anyway, but I mean he makes cool stuff. It looks good. It is usually well balanced. So. And the contacts I've had with him were pleasant. So yeah, he's actually working on or he should be working when his finals are finished, on some of the UI for Research Tree, because I'm thinking of doing like a massive overhaul on it. And I've already been working on the layout algorithm stuff, or using a different third-party library to do layout, and give it a little bit of a refresher with the UI as well. Just gonna quickly see if this works. It should. I am now. I need to offset that a little bit. Okay, that's fine. That works in theory. I just need to make it a little bit darker and offset it a little bit to like down and to the right, like the 5 pixels. I forgot about those basically. And it needs to be a little bit darker to actually have an effect. I do need to put the calculation of that size out of this loop. Does that matter? No, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like this is going to be running in the background or running that many times. I'm so annoyed that you can't do that. I mean, I do this shit for fun. Most of my stuff are either MIT or I'm not losing. What the fuck? Public license. Yeah. Have they changed that yet? Because it wasn't actually legal. Yeah, it's a minor shit, but want to closely work with someone who intends to profit off something like that. Prefer to make fully open source. Yeah. 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 It makes me feel a little bit weird about it. Just like getting donations and stuff makes me feel a little bit weird about it sometimes, because there's some very generous people that have given like quite large donations sometimes. And on the one hand that's brilliant. On the other hand, it kind of makes you feel like, okay, this is an obligation now, which I want to avoid. So I always try to make it really clear that, okay, you can donate to me, but I appreciate that very much, but it is really a donation. So I also don't do Patreon, even though I thought about it. And I am thinking about doing Ko-fi Gold for the other options it gives, and maybe also doing some smaller fun, what do you call it? When somebody pays you to do a particular piece of work, it's called a... Nah, I can look it up. But I'm still not sure about that either. Yeah, I think they have a different word for it. But yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing for me as well. I want to keep it as a hobby. And yeah, it's just nice. No, not constipation. Even though I may have looked a little bit constipated. Right. Start an OnlyFans. I've never heard of that. Commission. That's the word I was looking for, yeah. I can't zoom in on that. That annoys me. Am I okay with that? No. It needs to be bigger and it needs to be offset to the top left, or like back offset a little bit more again. So we're gonna make this a 3. The height is fine. Yeah. And it needs to be quite a bit wider. Let's make that 50. Right. So when that is roughly in the right position, we're gonna make a couple of screenshots quickly. Add a news item because I've started actually doing the Huxlip news stuff. Because I collaborated a little bit with Hugs to make the news usable, even if you're not actually depending on Huxlip. So you can just put it in a news folder, and Huxlip will present it if Huxlip is present, and otherwise they'll just get ignored. So they're not in the devs folder anymore, which is quite nice. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks better. It doesn't like sharply cut off at any of the corners. The whole thing is covered. Ctrl C in there. Let's make it a little bit longer just to see what happens. Yeah, I mean, that was expected. It's still got no word wrap, even though it thinks it does. Probably that max width is much bigger than we think it is. But yeah. Yeah. It is. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's skirting the end user license agreement. The license agreement, however, is like overly protective of the RimWorld assets and everything. And I mean, there's also things in there that claim ownership of any mods we make. That's just not enforceable. That's like, that is null and void. If that ever becomes for a judge, that's not enforceable. That's not gonna happen. At least not in a European jurisdiction. But it's there to protect RimWorld and Thailand. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, nobody's gonna complain about it. It's kind of an understanding, like, yeah, you know. And this is kind of on the other side. It's as long as you don't, yeah, hurt Thailand's business with it, or you don't create your own game based on this, and you start making tons of money with that, then yeah. Did they now? Since when does Blizzard accept modding at all? I guess no. Yeah, okay, they do. StarCraft and Warcraft. Yeah. No, I was thinking of other games, and I mean, even World of Warcraft though, but yeah. Yeah, okay. No, I haven't heard that, first of all. But that, like the shield generator stuff. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah. Okay, that's cool. I actually helped for one of them, but I guess that was taken down then. I mean, if you include the, I guess, I mean, if they depend on royalty and use the royalty assets from, actually, if the royalty extension is installed, then that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, if they bring those assets into the base game, I can see where that would be a problem. Which is also the like the whole thing of releasing an extension for a game that is so incredibly heavily modded is always going to be a little bit iffy, because there's many mods that do much more complex things than what the royalty extension actually does, which is troublesome. Okay, this is working. Let's... How the fuck do you make a screenshot of this? Like, you kind of need to make movies, but you can't show GIFs and... Right. Need to commit first. Wait, do the royalty assets ship with the game? I know that the code ships, which makes perfect sense, but do the actual assets also ship with the game? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Is it lazy or is it pragmatic? Also, taking the mods down just because they use the bits of code is really... that is iffy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get that, but it's a... What is it now? 2-3 man team? Yeah, what's gonna happen if you implement it on your own? Yeah. Or just do a slightly different implementation. I mean, Tynan copied my stack merger code, and like it's his own implementation, but it's clearly a ripoff. Like the actual logic is exactly the same. The only difference is that he has access to a little bit more, so I had to do like some fields with reflection or whatever, and he can do it like directly. He can hook it up directly, and I had to... Nah, doesn't matter. There's some hardening patches, reflection, whatever. I release it under MIT, and but that means that he has to include my license, or he has to attribute me. He hasn't. Like, I'm still not like he's included stack merger, animal tab, and I think that's it. Maybe some other bits and pieces that I've forgotten about. And I'm in general, I'm fine with it. It's just it stings a little bit, especially when you hear things like this, and it annoys me a little bit that as the last time I checked, I'm still not in the credits list. Like there is a Oscar Potoki is it? There's a mod donor list here. I don't know what Shinzi donated, by the way, but okay. But apparently only if I donated it, then not if he took it. That counts or something. I don't know. Just expect it to be in there, to be honest. Like, he can use it, but he should at least mention it. Anyway, I like modding too much, so I don't actually care about what he does with it. It Tynan's a little bit special anyway. He's a very stubborn man. I created the news file somewhere. What? I tried to. Blueprints, news. Yeah, I wasn't even looking at that. I did get removed from tested at some point, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, separate the code cleanly is kind of that part. But yeah, it's not a copyleft license. It's not a GPL. What was I doing? Ah, creating the... no, I don't need to make this a story. This is just a quick update. The create blueprint from selection button now creates a temporary blueprint by default. Means you can quickly copy paste objects rooms without creating new blueprints. You can also use the new key binding involved Ctrl C. Configurable in the mod options. To copy. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, this will do. Make a new section for people who still want the old behavior. If you want to create a permanent blueprint, you can right click the copy button or use the create blueprint designator. The blueprints tab of the architect. Jesus Christ. Always sounds like it's way too technical, but this should cover the load more or less. The one annoying thing with auto-generating the news is that it's not actually possible to know beforehand what version number we're going to be at. So I always have to guesstimate that more or less. So let's say we're going to be at 15 and we'll probably run it a couple more times. So let's call this 90, 129. That'll roughly be the right version number. It doesn't really matter. It gets displayed to the user, so I'd like that to be accurate. And boom, 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 boom. Huxlib uses it to only show like stuff that is not shown before and stuff like that. Having an encode on the MIT doesn't make sense yet. No, because you still need the copyright notices in the original license. I do think Rikudo is right there, though. Because I think MIT actually also explicitly states that you need to leave this license. The above copyright notice and this permission notice shall be included in all copies or substantial portions of the software. I do think that applies to specifically this one with my name on it. Now, I don't think they mean just MIT. I think they mean specifically this one with my name and the project this applies to. But I might be wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I mean, I'm sure there's various small legalities that matter and everything. Honestly, I don't really care that much. I usually care more about what is fair than what is legal. And I always hope that they're the same thing. So we should get the pop-up now for the news. Well, I didn't admit to any crimes. But yeah, I will admit to judging things by my own standards sometimes, yeah. Alright, I'm going to change this to say that it has been renamed to copy. And now creates a temporary blueprint by default. Hey, I've gotten away with it so far, so... Nickly copy paste rooms. Copy paste selected objects and rooms without creating new blueprints. Yeah, that should be somewhat stupid proofed. To create a new permanent blueprint, you can right click the copy button or use the create blueprint. Room selected. Yeah, okay, that should do the trick. I'm not even going to check it anymore. I'm just going to assume that it's correct. Okay. Let's push it. Oh, I was one off. I guesstimated I would be at 2.15.129 and I'm at 2.15.128. I should have built it one more time. Bugger. Yeah. I still need to figure out how Allow Tool does that, because as far as I can see, the vanilla designator has a maximum built in. But yeah, it would be nice to get that bigger, because it's really just that I'm using like the default designator, which I think by default is only 50/50, but I think it's like a constant, but apparently Allow Tool has somehow bypassed it, so that means that I should also be able to bypass it. Least a small update that changes the behavior of why am I typing this again? Oh, for fuck's sake. Nobody will notice that. A small update. I'm thinking about expanding my, so I created this little browser extension to quickly create GitHub issues from comments. So first, I already did this one earlier. I'm thinking about expanding it to also include like canned replies and stuff. So you can just have a quick button that basically says read the fucking manual, but in a calm and patient tone of voice. I might try that this weekend and spice up the expansion a little bit as well, or the extension, because it's not exactly pretty at the moment. Ooh. Yes. No, it's usually some variant on please follow the instructions on how to report a bug linked in the description. And when I'm feeling very generous, I'll add that especially the output log or the player log is quite important. All right. The state machine. I can find it again. There we go. Stop doing that. Come here. Go in your zone. Thank you. Right. Is this better or more readable than doing like a manual if statement? So I'm doing a manual check to see if I've read my pattern. Yeah. I did create like the manual, the actual manual. I wrote it just for this. Like there's a Steam guide on how to report bugs in mods with what should be the correct locations and stuff. And there's quite a few people actually linking to that as well. But just trying to hold people's hands and say like, restart the game, try a new save, see if you can replicate it with just that mod. and then use Huxley. The move between states is explicit and atomic. Explicit and atomic. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so you make sure that it only happens once. What does atomic mean in this circumstance? Because normally atomic means that it's a single operation, right? That there's no delay in it. Again, I'm not not a computer science major or anything, so everything I know from osmosis, from being you can only be at one state at a time. Yeah, because I know atomic from like database transactions where you have atomic like insertions and stuff, and like that's what. Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah, because you cannot have a conflict because you just never create a situation where there is a conflict. So there's no situation where one operation is like changing the data while another is reading it and or whatever stuff like that. Basically, race conditions. Is that really applicable in the typical transpiler? I mean, we're not working with async code. We're not working with multi-threaded code. It's all linear code anyway. I can see it. Yeah, I can see it being useful for more complex situations. Definitely, if you're being more explicit about it, it makes it easier to track the logic of things, and you don't have to potentially like read and understand multiple if statements and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay, yeah. So exactly those kind of situations, yeah, it's definitely useful. But for something relatively simply where you're just checking a block of 3 consecutive instructions, I don't really see this like being a useful. No, no. It's interesting though. Have you looked at the stuff that is included by default with Harmony? Because there's a couple of I forgot what they were called. Mm, yeah, the extension methods. I guess there are extensions on the instruction. Yeah, method replacer. A couple more. Let's quickly look where they come from. I haven't really found a use for them yet in the manipulator and the debug logger. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, I know. It used to be much more explicit. Like the decompilers we use have gotten better at it. But it used to be much more explicit that you really have to decode the different parts of enumerator blocks. I'm just quickly thinking about where I can find an enumerator. Well, I'm not going to bother actually right now. But yeah. Alright. Let's quickly see if there are angry mobs yet. Doesn't look like it. It should be fine. I'm going to call it a night. I'm getting a little bit tired. My eyes are starting to close a little bit. It's been fun. It's been interesting. Thank you very much for hanging out. And it's not like I have anything else to do, so I'll probably be back somewhere in this weekend. And I'll try and put a message up and stuff as usual. Alright, good night. Stay safe. Bye bye.